Welcome to Guardians of Innovation, Patent and Trademark Law.
Hello and welcome to Guardians of Innovation, Patent and Trademark Law with registered patent attorney Vincent Lotempio. I am your host, Kevin Rosenquist, and today we're venturing into that crazy world of AI. We're going to talk about the new frontier of IP law. Vincent, I'm excited to talk about this with you.
Is it sure it's you? You're not an artificially intelligent human being that I'm talking
to? I think it's me. I'm pretty sure it's me. Yeah, I have not been AI'd as of yet, but give it time. What are the most critical conversations happening right now at the intersection of AI and IP law?
Well, the first one is like for copyrights, like how much is it created by the AI and how much did you actually create? And the same thing, patent, it's inventorship, and then data ownership. Who owns it? Once it's created, what's the contracts of the owner of the software itself? I wonder, how do you differentiate it? Even when you try to ask AI to create a paragraph and then you go and edit it, how much really do you know what was your, inventive, your creative input to it was? And how much was the AI? And that's I think that's one of the hardest things is to determine just who actually created it and who owns it.
Is this a total side note here, but is this kind of one of the craziest things that's ever kind of upended your industry, what you do?
Yeah, I think so. And, I wrote a couple articles on it, and it's definitely a hot topic right now. And it's, I've been trying to use it a little bit. I have a AI search engine. It's called PatSnap, and they charge me like, $10,000 a year to use their search engine. And we just started using it, got a couple months into it. It's really changed the way we search. It's able to identify, keywords differently. You can throw in a bunch of patents and it can like scramble them up and summarize them. And, so it definitely can make your life easier. I don't know if you've used it at all. I used it
a lot
to edit, texts and emails just to clean it up. Yesterday, we were sending out a letter for demand. My colleague was struggling with it. And I said, well, let's just try something. Just give it to me. I just threw it into the ChatGPT and told it to change it. And then I copied it into a Word document and put it next to hers and then said, compare the documents. And she started looking at the comparison. It shows you the cross-offs and lines and how it changed it. She goes, oh, this is better. This sounds better. Mm-hmm. And then she went and edited it herself. And I don't know if you necessarily want to use it from scratch, but it's certainly, it helps to edit it. And then you have to make sure it's right. I mean, so many times I look at it and it totally gets the wrong message.
Absolutely. They call it hallucinations.
Yeah, and exactly. So then who really owns that? Mm-hmm. I think that's always going to be the issue. And the Copyright Office right now has definite requirements and guidelines for it. I haven't really seen much in the patent side of it where they talk about it, but the patent rule is that, if you're the inventor, you have to list whoever the inventor is. So did this AI really invent something, or did it just clean up what you've already invented and just gave you a better way of describing it? That's where the decisions come from.
So the concept of originality is something that I think we touched on in one of the previous episodes. How does that apply to works created by AI? I mean, I guess that's kind of what you were just talking about, but
that's what the copyright, they call them works, whether it's a work of art or an authorship, like a book. Yeah, it was the best of times. It was the worst of times. I don't know, Williams, then AI says, maybe it would sound better if you would have said it was the worst of times and the best of times.
Rewrite Charles Dickens. Why not?
I think that's always going to be the ownership. You've seen these movies where they're so sophisticated. Do they become autonomous on their own, and do they have their own rights? I don't know if we'll ever get to that point, but I'm still fighting with Siri half the time. It doesn't understand what I'm asking it, and it can't answer every question. Like they said, I want it to be like the Star Wars computer, or this, the Star Trek computer, and then just telling it, go to my folder and open it, and it just does it. We're still clicking all over the computer to get someplace. Sometimes it takes you 17 clicks to to save something in a folder, or pull something out of a folder, So,
Right.
I mean, as far as that goes, I mean, I know one of the questions you had, what's the impact and how could we use it, for the patent lawyer could use it for searching. It finds something for you, it finds it. You're looking for the needle in the haystack, you find the needle, you stop. What could be wrong with that? The question is if it misses it, does it, will it miss it? Once you find it, you stop. I mean, as far as drafting goes, again, I think why not help you with your grammar and your editing? You always have, there's always the editing. When you type something up and you type it wrong, even if the grammar's wrong, you get that red line underneath the words. So here, it just does it for you, instantly. And I think examiners could use it too. And as far as, like I said before, is it can take information and work at it really quick, very fast, where it's just taking you forever to do it. So the question is, can it find it? My wife used to work for a drug company called Regeneron, and they took, so many X-rays of eyes, billions and billions of them, pictures of eyes. They use AI to correlate it and to go through it and analyze it, and you could never do it with all that data with a human being. So question is, who owns it at the end of the day for intellectual property? Who owns this thing? I think that's the biggest issue. And, whether it works it seems to me that it works pretty well with a lot of things.
It does a lot of aspects. You're right about the reliance on it. You just, it can clean things up and all that, but you do have to be careful about original quote unquote thoughts from AI.
And I think like for SEO purposes, like we have a blog and, we put out content, and I know Google's algorithms used to not like certain things. They would call it like you're trying to, cheat the system.
Keyword stuffing and things like that.
75 times in a letter, and then they would blacklist you. But I don't know, could they identify whether or not it's purely AI and whether they're going to punish you for that? But I think, I've been talking to different people about this, and I've heard different sides of the story. But one of the guys that does IT says that if you are like a patent lawyer, somebody that specializes in something, and you're going to actually post this stuff on your blog, I would never post it unless I went through it, made sure that it was right, that they would give it, that the Google algorithm would give it higher credence because they knows it's coming from a specialist. It's coming from somebody that's an expert in the field, versus if it was just some random person typing, putting out random information. But I know there are programs that you can plug in and say, was this generated by AI or not? And I don't know if the teachers are doing that when they give an assignment for you to write a paragraph about, your day at the zoo. And then you just go and tell the AI to do it for you if she puts it in this program to see if the person ever actually wrote it. But I tried to do it, and it would say like, oh, it's 60% chance this was AI.
Yeah.
And it wasn't. It was just a letter that I had previously wrote myself.
It's definitely not a good, it's not perfect.
And then one that I created from AI, and it said it was like 85% chance that this was AI.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know if you could determine, how do you determine that a computer created that versus I actually invented it? Is it right or wrong? I mean, those are going to be issues that have to be solved, to get the ownership of the property.
As it stands right now, you and me sitting here talking, can AI generated works actually be copyrighted? And if so, who holds the copyright?
Yeah. So like I said, you can't, if it was purely AI, they won't do it.
Okay.
Right now, than the copyright. And there's this section when you go to file it for limitations on the copyright. So for example, if we were to file this as a copyrighted recording, you would have ownership in it as well. So because you're creating it and I'm creating it, we're creating it together. So when I file the registration of the copyright, I would have to limit it to, Kevin owns it too, and put it down. So, and then for AI, you'd have to limit your rights in it based on the fact that, 50% of it was done by AI or 20% of it was done by AI. And you have to identify what was the AI and what wasn't. And I just don't know how that's going to work. Right. But that's the system that they have installed right now. I don't see how that's enforceable. So when you file a registration of of a copyright. It's not like trademark where they do a search and see if somebody else already has it. They just register the copyright. And then when you go to sue it, then it all comes out at court. How did you make it? Where did you make it? Who, what, why, right? They go through all that. You have to prove it. I wrote it, I put it in my computer, I saved it on this date, I sent it to my lawyer, and you build the case. So I don't know, maybe the defense is, well, he never really created this. This was just created by AI. He shouldn't have the rights in it. I mean, it's anybody's guess on how it's going to play out. But yeah, there is definitely in the the copyright registration app. It goes through the website of the Library of Congress. The copyrights through the Library of Congress. That's who controls it. And there's definitely questions about AI generation and whether or not you should limit your ownership based on that.
I have a decent amount of friends who are artists, musicians, someone in that space, and a lot of them are pretty vocal about how much they hate AI. And what challenges do you foresee with AI in identifying potential trademark infringements? Because that is a big talking point about infringing on artworks that works that were already created and things like that. Because obviously the AI is not an inventor. The AI is taking stuff that it knows, information, and it's creating. So like how is that playing out?
Well, it's kind of like us, like where brains are computers, right? It's like, garbage in, garbage out, right? Whatever we learn and we're able to decipher and being able to generate responses to input. And it's the same thing that the computer is. And, they say that our brains are so complex that we only use a small percentage of it. But at the end of the day, as far as trademarks go, you only gain rights in trademark when you start to use it, right? We talked about that before. Whereas a patent, you gain rights when you file for the patent, and you don't want to use it until you want to keep it close to the vest until you're actually using it. But a trademark is just coming up with a name like Exxon or Xerox. So the question is, if it can come up with a unique name, and then you're the one that uses it in commerce, there's no copyright in the name, right? There's no copyright in a title. The copyright is in the thing that you take a picture of or the book that you write. So there could be 10 books that can be called The Christmas Story, but each story is different, and each they own their copyrights, but they don't own the right to the title. So, and basically that's what a brand is. It's a title or a slogan. So whoever's using it gains rights in it. So for example, if you own Coca-Cola and you never registered it as a trademark, and you put it in every gas station, every podunk city across the world, you put a pop machine in there with the word Coca-Cola across it, you would have common law rights everywhere. But not everybody's Coca-Cola, and you get certain statutory rights by registering it. But if you just Kevin's Coca-Cola, you put one pop machine in your backyard, you would have geographic common law in your state, but you wouldn't have it for the rest of the state. And that's why you register it, so you're covered throughout the whole country. And so your rights, as a trademark owner, isn't absolute ownership. It's a presumption of ownership based on the fact that you registered it. And it's a rebuttable presumption. But they have to overcome that presumption. And how do they overcome the presumption? Is that they say, I used it first and copied it. So whoever actually uses it and puts it on a product first and starts selling it, that person has the superior rights. So if an AI generated a trademark that you used, I don't, in my mind, maybe I'm missing it, see that it's a problem because they're not actually using it in commerce. It just created it for you. And if it did it for you, I guess it depends on the contract that you had with that software developer and how to use it and what rates you have to use it about on the stuff that it creates for you. So if I hired you to come up with a name for my web, my podcast, it would be our arrangement between you and I as to what I would owe you once I started using it. I would still own it at the end of the day because I would be the one that would be using it, and I'd be the one that would be putting it on my product. And obviously, I don't have a product. I'm returning my services and advertising my services. So in trademark, you put a label on a product, or you click here and buy the Adidas sporting goods. And it's like a kiosk. You use that name or that brand in conjunction with selling the product.
Okay. As things are going to continue to evolve in this landscape, I'm not going to ask you to be the Nostradamus here, but like what emerging trends in AI do you believe is going to have the most significant impact specifically on IP law?
If the AI was actually saying, you're typing it up and you're saying, I invented a table. It's got a top, a bottom, and 4 legs coming out of the corners. The AI says, well, wait a minute, those legs get in the way. Maybe you should make one with a pedestal coming out of the middle. It literally invents the pedestal table. I just don't see how, maybe you invented the top and it invented the bottom and you're cooperative. So I could just see it just as being, issues, and of course, who owns the other part that I see is, the person who owns the ChatGPT. It's who literally owns it? Is it just a program on your computer, or is there some huge database that somebody owns that information that transmitted it to you? And then it's, what happens if it's, put peanut butter in your gas tank and get 500,000 miles to the gallon? You only have to fill up your case.
Wait a minute, does that work?
Yeah.
Vincent, I'm writing this down.
But I'm just saying, if they invented that, who would own it? Yeah, who would own it? And again, how would you stop people from putting peanut butter in their gas tank anyways?
Seems like it'd be hard to do. What advice would you give to an inventor or a creator that wants to protect their intellectual property in this AI-driven world, at least as it stands right now?
You have to understand your rights, understand what it is that you are submitting. It has to be clear that it is your creative work, whether it's a copyright, a trademark, or a patent, and that you created it or you have a right to use it. I mean, I guess those types of rights are going to be defined in your user agreement, and who reads those, right? I mean, you click the box and you say go, nobody ever reads it.
Yeah.
So, and then, identifying what exactly is your intellectual property at the end of the day. I think a big part of it will come down to proof. So why wouldn't you document everything as well as you could? Have an inventor's notebook, take notes contemporaneously to when you make it. When I was a trial attorney, I used to work in the district attorney's office. We would have to put evidence into court and present it to the court. And a lot of times the court would just say, we'll take it, and we'll let the jury determine how much weight to give it, right? So you're in front of the jury and you say, well, I got this notebook and it's all tattered and you wrote it at all different times. I dated it, I wrote it, this is when I did it. I had my friend sign it that day and put my number on it. I think it's going to be pretty powerful that you were taking contemporaneously notes and you documented it. You came up with the invention of the television because you're walking through the cornfield and you saw these rows of corns and you thought about rows of definition, and this is how you invented the television. I mean, I don't know how the hell the guy did it. And there was a high school kid, and that's basically how he invented the television. He was a farmer, and I mean, that's a true story.
That's crazy. I didn't know that.
That's crazy, right? But so the documentation of it is important, and stay tuned. Keep your eyes open on what the new case law is going to be, because right now it's so new, nobody really knows. Nobody knows where it's going to go. So keep an eye on how things are being done. Like I said, there is a system already with the copyright. I haven't seen anything at all about trademark and patents, laws about it or anywhere you have to document it. But there is a rule in patent law that if anything is material to patentability, you have a duty to inform the patent office of it. It's called an information disclosure statement that you have to submit with every patent. So if the computer invented part of it, I think it's incumbent on you to if that's material to patentability, to let the patent office know that it's there. And if you don't, and it's determined later, they can say that it was fraud in the patent office and cancel your patent. So I think you have to be transparent, and you have to be aware of the changing climate and see where this goes. I don't know, what do you think is going to happen? Is it going to be where it's going to be so intelligent that you're not going to be able to tell the difference? I have this Ring Central is my answering service or my computer service, and they have now voices that sound like humans, that's generated by AI, and supposedly could answer the phone right now. You don't even know you're talking to the computer. It's a real person. So how far is it going to go? I guess the big thing is stay tuned and keep looking, keep your ears open.
Yeah, stay tuned for sure. We are just at the beginning of all this. Well, thank you for joining us on Guardians of Innovation, Patent and Trademark Law with registered patent attorney Vincent Lotempio. If you'd like to get in touch with Vincent, please visit lotempiolaw.com and please like and subscribe to the channel. And if you enjoyed what you saw here, please leave us a review. Vincent, always great to see you. Thanks for all the knowledge.
Thank you. It's always fun talking to you. I always come up with new ideas, and even just talking to you, it's just like anything else. The more you do it, the better you get at it.
Absolutely. Yeah. Well, thank you very much. And thank you all for joining us. We'll see you next time.
Thanks for watching. Be sure to hit that like and subscribe button and leave us a review in the comments.